Okay, so today is what I would like to call minimalist confessions. So basically just like a little series or just episodes where I confess my truths of being a minimalist that people might find interesting or helpful. So that's what this is. So I thought for, the vlog channel, for the confessions, I'd make it more, behind the scenes, more raw. Today's episode is speaking to the 13 things that I first got rid of when I became a minimalist. I became a minimalist probably about 6-7 years ago. My husband and I watched the Minimalist documentary, and it really ignited a little fire under us, and we got real cutthroat the first round. We didn't do like baby steps like they suggest. We just got right into it. And so that's kind of what I wanted to share, was just the first things that we really got rid of and why. So the questions that we were kind of asking ourselves when we were going through the items in our house and making these cuts was, does this bring me value? Is this adding to my life? Do I use this on a daily basis? Is this bringing me, again, to quote Marie Kondo, I feel like I always quote Marie Kondo, but does this bring me joy? Asking those questions to really kind of get down to the nitty-gritty of each thing. So I think let's just get started. Yeah, take a look at my list. Just put it in my phone here. All right. So the first thing was magazines. I was getting Vogue magazines for years. I just had stacks and stacks of Vogues. I would keep, my favorite ones, and I kind of used them as decor. I'd stack them up. I was kind of, like Carrie Bradshaw in that way. I honestly, it was rare, very rare, that I would go back and look at one of these magazines, in reference to something. There might have been something every great while, like maybe I would go back and reference, but ultimately, no. Like I'd read them, put them on that stack, and never see them again. So there we go. That was it. That took care of that. So the next one was picture frames, or kind of more personal pictures. And we had quite a few around the house. I guess the thing of that was that for us, when we really asked that question of like, is this bringing value? And a lot of people would say, yes, like family photos, they're bringing value for sure. But I think for us, it was that because they just were there all the time, we never really, even noticed that they were there. So for us, we were like, we get more value out of actually looking back at like the photos on our phone. We're actually getting more value, I hate to say it, out of like Facebook memories, and now like iPhone has memories and pops them up. And so I was actually getting more value out of that than I would say the photos around my house. It wasn't anything to do with the fact that we didn't want to like look at our family. It was just more that it wasn't what was giving us that nostalgia or that, memory that we needed. We were getting that from something else. And so now actually in our house now, we have an Alexa show, and you can basically just have her just rotate through your photos. It's great because it brings up photos we have completely forgotten about. The only annoying thing is sometimes she'll bring up some like really random stuff. So I'm like, okay, it's a good thing we don't have anything too risque on our photos. But I love it because it brings up all these amazing photos that you just forget because you take so many photos. And so to me, I actually find that I get more value out of that than having the same exact photos up around my house that I kind of sort of just walk past and it becomes redundant. All right. Knickknacks. Yeah, we have absolutely no knickknacks. Like we are very minimal. Before we officially became minimalists, years ago, we had quite a bit of knickknacks. We went through a, where we were into like the industrial revival thing. So we went through that phase of like where we would go to flea markets and we would get, vintage stuff or just repurpose things, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so we had quite a bit of that as like decor, like old soda bottles or like an old lantern or that sort of stuff. So we had a lot of that sort of sprinkled throughout our place. And so at that time, we got real cutthroat, and we were just like, yeah, are these things really adding anything to us, or are they just kind of adding to the clutter? Like, do we actually, think that these are bringing value or any real function to our lives? And that was a big no. Not that I think there's anything wrong with having decor, or just things for decor, but I think for us at the time, we just thought, no, like we don't really want, we want it to be clean. I think that was like the idea was, from what we saw in the documentary, we liked the idea of just having this clean palette. And so I think we sort of saw it as like a reset. So yeah, we got rid of all the knickknacks. Okay, let's see what else we got. DVDs. Yeah, that was DVDs and CDs. It's crazy how long we held on to our DVDs and CDs. And I think at that point we realized we didn't even have anything in our house to actually use either of them, but we were still holding on to DVDs and CDs. I think the CDs especially, it was like a very nostalgic thing for both of us. It was like hard for us to let go of that, because that, as for our generation, CDs were like a big deal for a really long time. I mean, tapes were even a big deal. So that was actually harder than you would think to get rid of our CDs. But it was really like, okay, we have all this music on our phones, on our iTunes, so we really don't need them anymore. So we got rid of all of them. And it was difficult, but we made it through. So the next one was small kitchen appliances. One of the things was like we went through this whole big juicing phase where we got a juicer and we juiced every day and getting all healthy and cleansed. We sort of got out of it because if you've had a juicer, they're a flippin' nightmare to keep clean and maintain. Like, to make a juice, it's very high maintenance. Like, it's a very long process. So just to even get the vegetables and fruit prepped to go into the juicer, then to clean it all afterwards and dry it all after, I mean, it's a process. So we kind of fell out of it because it just wasn't maintainable for our day-to-day life. We then decided to get a Vitamix and just make smoothies every day. We held on to that juicer for a really long time. So that was sort of the things we were holding on to. So we got rid of that. I think we had like an old Keurig that like I had purchased because I don't know what I was on, but I had decided to get a Keurig when they first came out. And so there was just those type of things that we just were like, all right, these are just taking up space. We don't need them. We can sell them. We can actually get a little bit of money back. And so that was very freeing when we did that, because it cleared up so much space in our kitchen and made it so much more functional. Okay, let's see. Extra cookware. I mean, that was an easy one. We just got rid of, we had, again, accumulated a lot of pans and utensils and all that sort of stuff over the years. So we just got rid of ones that we weren't using on a day-to-day basis. And that also just freed up so much space and was great. The next one was like collections. Collections are great if they're actually bringing you value and bringing you joy and, you're actually getting something out of them. And when I was growing up, I was definitely into collections. That was like a thing. I like collected horses, I collected snow globes, definitely by default collected a lot of stuffed animals. But one of the biggest ones was I actually collected angels. My grandma was super, super into angels, and so she had given me a few angels over the years as gifts. And it sort of just became a thing. And then I just, sort of liked the idea of, building this collection. So I actually had a pretty good sized angel collection, and I brought them with me to California when I moved from Minnesota to California. So when we became minimalists, let's see, how old was I? Maybe 28, 29. And I moved out to California when I was 18. So I had this collection for 10 years in like a Tupperware box. And I don't think I ever actually, in that 10 years, pulled out any of the angels to even look at them or do anything with them. So for 10 years, I carried around to each and every place that I moved to, which was a lot back then. I carried around this big, massive, Tupperware storage bin of this angels collection. And at the end of the day, I was like, oh, it's so hard because they mean so much to me. Very conflicting thing. I could remember who gave me each one, like if there was a meaning behind it, all that stuff. But then at the end of the day, I just decided like, why am I holding on to something that I'm not even actually getting value out of? I'm not actually getting function out of these things. In fact, they're actually taking away, because they're taking away space, storage space, and functionality from my space for that reason. So I decided to get rid of them, just for the fact that I hadn't looked at them for 10 years. They were no longer bringing me any sort of value. And that was fine. Like, I felt okay with that because, you know, they had brought me value for the years that they needed to. And so I just thought, well, you know, getting rid of these objects that I haven't looked at in 10 years isn't going to get rid of the memories that I have of these people. So yeah, I donated them, and I felt really good about it. So, all right, next one is extra bedding. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can all relate to that. We just accumulated so much bedding over the years. You know, when you get new bedding or a new bed or whatever, we had so much of it. So we got rid of a lot. Like, we got rid of anything that wasn't ones that we were using on a regular basis for our bed or our guest bed at the time. Pillows, same thing. We had a lot of pillows that we had accumulated that we were like keeping stored away for what? You know, like all we needed was a certain amount for guests. And then even throw pillows, because we had a lot of throw pillows. And so we got rid of a lot of throw pillows as well. The next thing was nostalgia. So this is kind of, I guess, in line with the angels and with the picture frames. But I also, when I went through my angel collection, I had some boxes of like nostalgia. So I would say at that point, I was probably holding on to at least 3 large, like Tupperware storage bins of nostalgia from like my childhood that I was basically had taken with me from Minnesota and was moving with me throughout my whole time in California. This little gnat is like driving me insane. Again, it was the same sort of thing. I rarely looked at any of this stuff. It was old pictures. Some of it was like stuffed animals. Some of it was like certain toys, books that I had when I was younger. There was just, you know, it was my memories from my childhood. So again, it was similar to the angels, where I had to kind of let go and be like, well, I don't look at any of this stuff ever. That reality check of like, okay, if I get rid of this, is it gonna affect anything for me? Is it really gonna affect my day-to-day life? And the answer was no. Like, it wasn't a part of my day-to-day life, and it wasn't bringing value. I still had all my memories, you know, there. So I ended up getting rid of, again, like a lot. I did keep like photo albums, ones that I had like made and curated and had like, you know, actual specific photos. So I kept those because those are fun. I do love to go back to those and go through, and I do actually find value in that. So I kept that sort of stuff. And so I didn't get rid of absolutely everything. Did keep a small amount in a smaller box. So if I couldn't fit it in that box, then it was going. So it was kind of like, that was my goal. Oh yeah. So another one that we got rid of, which was kind of surprising, was books. We had a lot of books. You know, some people find great value in them and will constantly refer back to their books, all that. We just had so many books that weren't really doing anything but literally just collecting dust. So at that point, we decided, let's just get rid of all of them. Let's donate them and let other people get value out of these. And that felt amazing as well, because we knew, okay, we're giving these books a second life. Now somebody else can enjoy them. And then from there on, we decided that that's kind of what we were gonna do, is try to get books from other people, or, you know, borrow other books and then pass it on. Or if we, you know, were dying to get a book and we bought new, then we were going to pass it on to somebody else when we were done, somebody else that we knew that would get value out of it as well. And then from there too, we both started to do audiobooks a lot more, and I actually started to download books onto my phone a lot more. I'd say now we still have a few books that we hold on to for reference. Here's one as an example. Like, I've got this, you know, the Daily Stoic book. I've got a few Stoic books like this that I refer back to on a daily basis. I have a few fashion books that I have held on to and refer back to, but it's just basically a handful of books that are still bringing value to my day-to-day life. But if something is just kind of where I've read it and I'm done with it, I'm ready to move on, then yeah, I kind of pass it on. And yeah, so that was definitely a great thing as well. That freed up so much space. The obvious one would be clothes and shoes. That is a massive part of my fashion channel, is talking about decluttering and getting rid of clothes that we're not in love with, you know, clothes that aren't bringing us joy. But yeah, so it was a big part of our initial clean out, of that initial declutter. And I'd say that was probably the biggest declutter I've ever done. I must have had at least 200 or so pieces at that time. And I think I pared down to 80 pieces, including like everything. So it was, you know, my shoes, clothes, coats, all of that. It was a lot easier than to have only 80 items, because I was living in California and you had one season all year round. So it was very easy to do that. But when I did that, oh man, it was like an absolute revolutionary thing for me and my style, as I speak to a lot on my fashion channel, on my tutorial channel. Yeah, it just basically let me really see what my style truly was, or what I really truly loved to wear. And it got rid of all the noise, and it made it so much more fun for me to style and get dressed every day. So then we have electronics, yes, or tech. Again, it's kind of one of those things like kitchen appliances and just certain things you just accumulate electronics over the years, because obviously things are constantly being updated. And we had, I think, like at least 2 boxes of just old electronics or old tech. I think we got rid of both boxes. I think we got rid of everything. It was kind of like pointless, because there was really nothing that was even relevant at that point, because it's like anything that you were using on a regular basis, you had the things you need for it and you were using them on a regular basis. We never really found ourselves referring back to that, those boxes. Of course, I think when we got rid of them, there was like one cord that we were like, crap, we need that cord, of course. Yep, so we went through 13 items. So those are the 13 first items that we got rid of when we became minimalists. Yeah. So those were my confessions, like the reasons why we got rid of things, and some of the hard processes or the hard thought processes or emotions that we had to go through. That's kind of my confession of those things. Definitely comment below and let me know if you've been through the similar process, if there were things that were really hard for you to get rid of, if there were things that were super easy, no-brainers to get rid of. I definitely love hearing from you guys and having those conversations. That's it for today. Make sure that you click that like button and the subscribe button and the little bell to get notified when I post my new episodes. All right, we'll be seeing you next time. Bye.